Should be recording this now. I just want to do a tutorial for anyone who is looking to use AI codecs to automate something. So, for example, I've automated building business brochures. So, if you're at an event or at an expo or a convention and you want to promote your business, these brochures can be created for your business using image generation. You can make the image. You can also put the content, and we can try to optimize the content on these brochures. You can think of these as your media kit that you can then use to promote your business. The way I've done it for my own case is I've actually used my own code base and ran it through this uh, filter system to find all the best chunks and then try to say what could be the top 7 business ideas that my code right now is really good for. And it can come up with 100 ideas, different things to try. Um, and then for each of those ideas, it can then uh, build out the app for it, and then it can test again, and then it can improve. So we have 100, more than 100 business ideas. They're all good ideas. They're our top 100 ideas. They're all great ideas. They all have to be at least 100 million in economic impact for the business, for that company to operate. And then they're ranked by what is the factor we want to rank it by. One of them could be an ELO score, ELO. One of them could be an investment return expectation. It could be on any rubric or rule book that we want to have. The the AI will then also, within this 100 set of 100 portfolios, the AI will then try to improve itself. So every time the new model comes out, or every few months that we rerun the evaluation and the system harness, we can ask it to update its prior information, look at where things are headed in terms of have any prior predictions materialize or manifested in a interesting way, and then plot that trajectory and try to see if you can make this business even better than it is today. And it does that. So the top 100 list will then shift and rearrange, and this could happen continuously. So you can imagine a system of always on AI ideas. So you could have 100 different apps or 100 websites, just 100 ideas. And some of them could be work well together. So you could then bundle some of these ideas. So when I asked the AI to come up with 100 ideas and then the top 7, it doesn't mean that it was only the top final 7 as ranked. It was more like what are the top 7 chunks or sets of ideas or portfolios that we could create to create maximum value. And it came up with the 7, and much of it was aligned with the work that I have been doing, but even my own contribution to the code base created more option value in the business model, which then boosted this company's prospects. So it's a very interesting way of kind of how far out can you underwrite a business model or an opportunity if you're looking at it from the very basis of the functions in the code and what it's designed to do, and how much of that root code or that core concept can continue to be extrapolated and capture more value as you go global, open up new markets, get more customers and users. So the way I did that was I used Playbasis, Codebase, as my idea fountain generator. So for all of the ideas, we rank them based on how well they would use the existing code base in interesting ways, how we could build on that foundation and maybe verticalize specific apps that use some of that underlying code base. And the way I did that was I asked the AI itself to go back and look at a more than almost a decade old code base, right? We're talking about 7, 8, 9, 10 years since when the first line of code was written to when it was last maintained. And now we're asking the system to the AI, the very latest models, not to change it, but to preserve it. How could we package this up? What are the fixes and patches that we should apply so that the system is more maintainable and has better developer quality of life? They have better documentation. They can see what the main patterns are, what the momentum of the code is trending towards, and so how it's evolved basically. And that so that it can create a handover. So anytime a new user was jumping on the code base, they would have this kind of startup pack that they could use. And we've currently been building that now. And I thought it'd be a good idea to show you guys how I use AI in Codex and some of the tips and tricks you can get if you use this agentic harness. So the new feature that they've just released is called Goals. And what Goals is a special setting on these. So right now they give you a lot of the controls by yourself to manage. And so Goals is specific though. Can't have more than 4,000 characters in a goal. So it's not like you can give it a whole, stacks of books and say like, read all of these and follow all the instructions written in each book. But you can give it a decent sized high level objective with some kind of verifiable end state or reward state, something where it can say completed. And it will continue to iterate until that goal is done. Now the goal itself could be very complex, and the way you can build something complex while still staying within that 4,000 character limit is you want to use things like documentation files, some kind of task or to-do list, and this idea of session IDs and sub-agents. So one of the things that the way we use AI right now is in a chat box. It still is, for the most part. Most people are still using it through chatting and prompting. I mean, yes, there's other things like, using your camera to scan something and other ways to use AI, but right now it's still mostly plain text in prompt forms. So within that prompt form, if each line you write is very dense or salient, meaning to say it has very meaningful keywords as much as possible, that in itself is sort of like embedding knowledge or information within a sentence. So you want to remove a lot of things like ums and ands and sort of blabbering on in a sense, right? You want to keep it very coherent and more like a set of instructions, because you want it to be so that this same set of instructions could be passed to 100 different AI workers, let's say, agents. And each of those AI agents or workers could be unique. But they all would need to understand the same set of instructions. Once they have a good understanding of the same set of instructions, then within each of those 100 agents, you can also have a set of instructions. So you can think of it as like a 10 to 1 or maybe 10 to 100 kind of relationship, whereby one agent can then fan out or manage 10 different agents. And within those 10 different agents, each of them are just as smart as the first agent, but now they're focused on a lane. And if you can design your system or problem solve a puzzle across 10 pieces, and you can have a hyper intelligent agent for each of these pieces, then you would have this kind of work tree in a sense. And each of those agents could then go off and do their tasks and accomplish everything on their list. And then once they're done, tell the initial agent. So that's why within that 4,000 characters, that initial agent has to be the one that then communicates back to the end user. But that agent will also manage the team of agents themselves. They will fan out. So I have a goal here that I've written, and I'm asking it to pick up some work on a project folder that I've been working on, which is that brochure generator. So essentially, I want my code base to market itself, to create its own brochure for what it is. And I want to do this as a system so I can rerun it anytime. So I've built a goal, I have it within the character count, and now we're going to run it and see if Codex can pick this up. I'm using extra high this time. It's not within the 4,000 character limit, so I'm going to have to reduce the character count on this by how many characters, I don't know yet. Let's check. I'll actually give you guys another tip here. You can use this thing called side. You kick off to side, and it's an example of one of the sub-agents within that main chat session that we're in. So within this, I'll say, please trim this by enough character count to stay within 4,000 lines. And then for this one, extra high, probably not needed for this because all the information that we want is there. The only thing we need to do is just reduce the character count. So we don't need to reason over a lot of things. We'll just use this as our main prompt. So this looks like longer again than 4,000. It's probably, let me just see if this will work. Oh, it looks like it's okay. All right, so if that's the case, I will, then this is a one-off side chat, so we can just close that for now. Now we're in the main agentic workflows. So at this point, the system has enough information and it has grounded itself and pulled up all the context in the prompt to understand what our goal is. It's also marked it as a goal, so it can refer back to this as it updates. From that goal, it creates its own progress markers. So you can see there's 4 bullet points here or main things to do. So it's itself is synthesizing our prompt into a system that it can operate within. Then what it's doing here, it's emitting its thinking traces or thinking tokens. These are actually designed for humans to read, you as the user. But within that, it's also performing and executing code. So you'll see here, it will search for files, it will write code, it will execute code. It will probably try to search for stuff that exists first before it builds out anything. If there's a function that it needs that doesn't exist, it can also write that. So the goal is designed to really be high-level direction and general guidance or vision of what we want to have. And the system itself is trying to make sure that it not only understands that, but actually delivers that. That includes things like retries, fallbacks, placeholders, guardrails, guards in general, limp rules, anything that would help make rerunning that step or replaying it in a sense more reliable on the second try or on the third try, for example. So the system itself is trying to make it easy for itself to work. And the reason for this is because the sessions themselves are like streaming scenarios. So you're effectively streaming tokens back and forth, which is very similar to streaming a video, for example. And so if there's any network issue or anything cut off midstream, then you would have to have systems that can handle this gracefully, which is where you have retries, exponential backoffs. You try to do things around caching and cache management. You try to do things around routing, CDNs, choosing the right model for the right task, and so forth. So it's not that there's just one system that remembers everything about you. It's more like they're writing notes in a way that they expect some version of them to disappear and pick right back up. So you can think of having these as ephemeral agents or helpers that just pop up. And I find it more useful to actually name them and give them a purpose or a role. So what you can do is imagine within your own function, within your own business or your own scenario that you want to plan, at least maybe a few dozen, if not 50 different distinct characters or personas that themselves represent a series of tools and capabilities and functional units within an organization. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's just like one for one specific role. Several agents can actually have some of the same main function, and each agent can have sub-functions or secondary capabilities, so that when we need to recruit across multiple running tasks or work streams, whoever's available can hop on, and also the demand may be such that most of the customers are requesting specific types of tools, and some of them may request, for example, video generation and so on too. But for the most part, people will request the primary function of things like searching the web, definitely communicating in a style that they can understand, whether it's Thai, English, or any other languages and so forth. So it's good to have these different distinct agents with different capabilities and personas, so that we have a mental map and a mental model when we're thinking about how we plan out these complex work streams. So we're effectively compressing the timeline of what used to take a year's worth of manual human labor, right, 9 to 5 kind of at work effort into these now goals and these coding sessions. So it's really fascinating to see. Let's review what it's done so far. So it's been working for 5 minutes, and it's run a few commands, read some files, searched code, ran more commands, more files, more commands, more searching, more commands, 24 commands, edited 2 files, ran 2 commands. So these are the things why I was saying around the retries and the fail proofs and the steering and guidance system, because it's kind of like those Roomba vacuums where they kind of need to feel out the room and search the edges and understand what the layout is, especially in art, which can change often. So it's designed to very gently bump into things. It uses that force impact, that sensor, to help it understand where the walls are and the tables and so forth. You can think of these agents as effectively doing that because it doesn't know your computer, it doesn't know your way of thinking. So it will fan out and make some decision on logically, I'm looking for a file in someone's computer. What should I search to try to find it? I need to find some key. If I need to find some file or folder, and I've never seen it look at it before, it's not mine. If I need to search for that, how would I do that? And it does this by learning from lots of patterns of behavior and the most likely things that people would do. It can also do things where it searches by a very specific metadata type or things that would only be specific to that type of code living on your computer. But it does this, and that's how the window metaphor comes in. When it's searching the edges, it's trying to look at the facts. It's trying to understand where you're keeping things, where you're placing things, how you're structuring things. And then once it has the right picture, it understands. And increasingly, it's the AIs themselves that are writing those files and creating those folders. So it's itself searching its own method of setting up work trees and file structures. And so to the extent that you can understand how the main labs are operating or how the product is evolved, and you can couple your way of working as closely as possible to that, then you can always ride that wave and still stay out in front, because you'll be able to do things and discover things that the internal testers and internal users could never have done. Right? It's just not possible. That's why the outside world being able to experience with or play with these AI tools is so important, because the developers, studios, and labs themselves will learn so much, they learn an enormous amount, and increasingly that is the value, is actually learning from the users. So these are almost like becoming learning machines, because that's how they can continuously improve. So it's the app itself is what they build, but what we really want to understand is how to use it. So if it's the agent itself using it, then it'll be able to build, it will be able to build tools for itself. So here's what it's now picked up. It's understand everything, and it has the full context. It's worked for about 8 to 9 minutes to understand what we're trying to do. Then it picked up on GitHub. It ran some Git checks, and it merged a PR into main. What are we doing? We are taking an open source code base. Okay? In this case, we're taking the legacy Playbasis code base, which is here. So if you go to github.com/Playbasis, you will come to our open source repo. This is a legacy repo. It's existed for many, many years, and we've open sourced it for a few years, but it has not been updated. So it was as is, and happy to share, and thanks for checking it out. As a result, no guarantees, no support, and so forth. It's just as is. But recently, due to things like Codex, we can now update them and improve them. So all I'm going to share today is the process by which we do that. So this is open source, so pretty much anyone can see this. You go to github.com/Playbasis/API. So you can think of the Playbasis technology stack as having 2 core pieces. One was the dashboard, the admin dashboard, where you can set rules and manage the campaigns and everything. This is what people use. Most of the time it was our staff who use those tools. Sometimes it was the client staff who use these tools. But this was the human operator control panel. We called it the dashboard. And the other piece of the platform was the API. And the API was for internal use case and for customer use cases. We had many different types of customers, but most of them were fintech clients, banking, telecom, and insurance, and many more. So our API was designed to work with B2B clients, and it has not been updated in many years. And what AI has just done is fix it up, make it still the same, but with better documentation. It fixed 500 bugs, tried to update things to the latest. We were using PHP 4. I think now we're already at PHP 8 or 10. So we didn't update the code in quite some time. But for the developer quality of life, it has been significantly improved. So it makes it much more fun and easy to go ahead and jump into this code base. Go to github.com/playbasis/API. And how am I building this out? Well, we're using Codex itself, GPT-5 extra high. So this is the most amount of reasoning we can have based on the best model that's currently available for people, right? For many. So we're using OpenAI's top coding model, and this is hosted on Microsoft Azure, and GitHub is also part of Microsoft. So those two platforms connect very well. In fact, I think repos and GitHub are going to be something where it may be like the new CRM in the sense that every user may also have a repo, so they can have personalized, hyper-personalized software for them. And that means their own code base, their own snapshot, more than just the data, but the actual code, how the functions work, how the algorithm works, what filters they want, those kinds of things. You can keep that in their own repo. So GitHub Codex worked really well. Turns out Playbasis was on GitHub as a repo for many years. It was our main Git repository. And so the goal is that just keep it up to date. And I can keep this goal running for days. It can continuously find stuff. And so I can pause the goal. So if I pause the goal, it will try to complete this last command and then just pause itself. If I resume the goal, it will continue on. So right now, I can now have this as a session. Anytime I want, I can just click resume. And then we just keep working and keep finding things and keep updating it, pushing it into its own work trees. And then at any time I want, I can say, let's now merge this into main. Let's say you found 300 or 500 things that you want to improve or you want to fix. Let's now pause here as a checkpoint, just merge them all in. I'm not really the kind that wants to merge one by one every time. I find having like a release or a version number is really important. This is something we've done for many years in video game studios, which I've been a part of since the start of my career, whether it's a software to operating system, like Apple iOS 18, 19, that kind of thing, rather than 18.1.1.9.7.2, and keep incrementing like that, which people can't really keep track of. Plus, you need the user to keep learning how to use your application. And so imagine we go to a kiosk where we go to a software and it's self-checkout. Well, I've never been trained to use their software, but now I'm in the self-checkout and then I have to use it and understand how to use it. And I have to do it and pay and use their software. And I've never been trained. So it means that software has to be super easy and everyone has to use that software. So the kiosk mode for many software, or almost all software, I think is also going to be really important. And computer can use it on the background or in the back end, but on the front end, the users touch and feel the look and the UI, the UX, it has to be pretty easy for people to get it. So right now, that's why you see like Codex kind of hides or collapses these views, tries to keep it mostly in the background. Users don't need to track all this text and so forth. But I paused it and it's made the checkpoint after 5 minutes. So here you can see it worked for 8 minutes, 5 minutes, and then probably another 2 or 3 minutes. So 15 minutes of work, and I got, got 2 PRs done like that. And so it would basically do this. It would work for 5 to 10 minutes per PR. A PR is a pull request. It means that you're pushing a piece of code that you've done that you think deserves to be in the main open source. It's a fix, it's an improvement, it's something like that. So people can submit PRs. In this case, it's Codex who's submitting PRs. And it's pursuing the goal of continuing the legacy maintenance across these repos, preserve the existing behavior, do not build new product features unless needed to safely expose or maintain legacy behavior. Focus on making the codebase more polished, secure, documented, runnable, and developer-friendly. Here are the work streams. We're doing a security hardening pass. We're doing a developer QOL, quality of life. We're doing a compatibility runtime repair. We're doing performance and reliability. We're writing documentation and a public polish. And we're trying to coordinate all of that. So we need the coordinator to talk to each of those workstream leaders. And we have the rules that say preserve. Everyone has to agree as agents. Let's preserve what's there. Let's make sure that everyone is working together and not resetting unrelated work or and keeping whatever everyone else is working on. If the coordinator says we can batch work and then merge, we can do that. After they do that, we can continue working. So it's really this autonomous goal, and it was written by Codex itself, so it knows how to prompt itself. And now I can just keep this running. So I can imagine how many hours per day or how many days do I want to keep improving that repo. Pretty cool. You can imagine like an always on or software that always gets better. I think that's pretty cool. What you can also do, that's on the Playbasis API stuff, the open source. So it's just a resource for anyone who wants it. Claude right now has an issue on the Anthropic side, so I'm not going to do a video on that or look into it yet. I wanted to see what's happening with Claude. It looks like there's an issue. They're trying to shut it down. I didn't jump in for that exact reason. There's another thing that you can do. So we showed you the Codex UI, and it's really cool. I think we also can develop our own UIs on top. So this is what I call the workspace. And this makes it much easier to understand what all is going on, who are the agents, what are they working on, where are they leaving their handoff, dropping their deliveries into what folder, and what are they actually working on? Are they waiting on someone else? Are they working independently? Those types of things. And we've got more than 24 different work streams for different kinds of businesses. So we're trying to cover as many businesses as possible. But we're thinking of things where you need 5 to 8 people doing different things. How can we do something that speeds all of them up? The best way we can do that is we can create kind of like a digital twin of that workflow. So we'll think of what has to be done, the set of things that we normally have to do, like do the research, do the review, write a spreadsheet, then maybe write some data inside the client's dashboard. They may want a presentation to update them on what we've been doing, and then they'll ask us, did we upload the app yet onto Google Play or Apple App Store? We have to coordinate on that. And then on the App Store itself, we have to make the screenshots and the marketing images of the app. This, I think, is the most important thing right now, because this is the marketing that every business now needs to do. Is everyone has an app or needs an app or should have an app. So that app, that ASO, App Store Optimization, is so important. And it goes down to everything from what your code changes were anytime you update the app, to new users who want to see your app for the first time. They read reviews and so forth. So this workflow uses all of these agents to actually set that up. So you will actually get marketing posters, you'll get App Store, Apple App Store images, and content for the descriptions, the store listing page. You will get a gallery of the raw media files that we used, the final versions, for iPhone, iPad, Facebook, X, YouTube, email, newsletter, and launch page. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different deliveries across social, YouTube, launch page, press release, and a PDF file auto-generated for you. So here's the PDF file it's generated. Media contact. So that's what this kind of workflow can do with these agents. So now you have this workspace, and it's generating things for you, but you're like, we can't go live on anything yet until we do them. We need the approvals and the person to sign off. We can actually launch this. We can publish this or post it or not. So then, the workspace you can go to is the new one. All right, you have to go to new.playbasis.ai. Just been testing this. All right, and then you log in, or you go to your apps or your agents, and then you go to your workspace, and then you can review what's there. So I have this mobile games demo. So let's say you're doing a mobile game, and then you want to know like what your rating is on App Store and Play Store. How many stars it has. And then you also want to do all your promotions and events, campaigns all the time, always on, every season. And then you're going to track, of course, in-app purchases and other things like that. So to help with this is we can have the agents running our store on Play Store and on App Store. Right? So that's what this does. I don't want to go too much into it because it's a lot of media, and sometimes for me to load all this, I need to optimize the images and so forth. But it's pretty cool and it works really well. And so that's one thing that you can do with these agents, these Codex tasks, is you can assign it to make me a brochure, make me a marketing landing page, update all my Facebook profile page, new profile picture, new gallery, new header image, new hero image, all of that. In-stream post images, stories, you can do all of that. And when you have these goals, all you have to do is say, keep it on. Here's my to-do list. I want you to do all these things. And it could be 100 different things or 50 different things. And it can keep looping because you may want it every week or every day. And so some of those you'll figure out you can pause or you don't need them always on. But other things you may want happening kind of often. Maybe you're searching social for trends, or maybe you're looking at what some of your other competitors are doing in the space. You want to make sure that you're staying competitive. So you can have agents that are also always on 24/7. That's kind of how I use Codex, guys. That's all I want to give you guys for now. Thanks a lot. See you.